Hello.
Hey, every time you start differently. This time it was shot 3 and then 1 to 3, and I was waiting for 3, not 3.
Yeah, I thought that we need to do warm-up in English as well, I guess. But that was all my fault, I guess, because I came in a bit late. All right, so here we go again.
And that's episode 9. Yep. Season 2, Biweekly podcast, and the hosts are here. It's me, Slava Rudnitsky, and you.
And it's me, Dima Malenko.
So today we're going to talk about themes, and I think
themes.
Many people, our themes, whatever that means, themes. You're the one who found this methodology or approach or something and brought, I think it was back in 2019 or something, for us to try. So could you tell us where it comes from once again?
Well, this is when things start failing me, because I am generally very bad with Genesis stories, and I don't remember how, if first of all, if I was the one who found this, and if I brought, and when that happened, and why that happened. But I guess one way or the other, we learned this from the podcast called Cortex by Mike Hurley and CGP Grey, where they've been advocates of themes, yearly themes, instead of yearly or New Year resolutions as an approach for planning and driving improvement in one's life. And the idea with theme is kind of simple, so that instead of a resolution, which is typically would be a very fixed goal that you want to achieve during a year, with the usual dynamic where we are very enthusiastic on January 1, we're so slightly less enthusiastic on January 2nd, and then by January 3rd, our enthusiasm is all but gone about this resolution, and in the end of the day, nothing gets done, and it only adds to frustration. Themes, on the other hand, they are very intentionally not specific. They are meant to set a generic direction for that year, so that every single step in that direction could count as a progress, and with that you can do something each and every day, and with that, theme would be something that cannot fail. Even a slightest improvement would be a step in the right direction.
Well, I'd say you could technically still fail yearly theme, but I think we managed to fail one or two.
Right, but then I guess overall the structure or intention behind this themes thing is to create enough breathing room and space for maneuver, so that you do not have to feel bad about yourself when things don't go as planned. But I guess, yeah, you can fail theme as well, but we would try to avoid calling it that, right?
And then at one of our events, named Points, one of the participants told us the story about R&D planning method. It was potentially named Lighthouse, but after Googling, I couldn't really find any proof of that. But the idea was that you could apply such planning not only for your personal planning, like New Year resolutions, but also for some business areas or business projects, especially when there is high level of unpredictability. And you can't really say what's going to happen in a week. And hello, Agile. So we're starting moving to some more conventional goal setting here. But, I was listening to the latest episode of Cortex about themes. And it seems to me that the guys are still stuck to this New Year resolution thing. And we kind of moved forward or adapted this thing a bit. And unlike Mike and CGP Grey, we've been experimenting a lot with different periods of time, not just years, but weeks, months, seasons, whatever. Do you feel shame or guilt about it?
No. it just occurred to me when you said that yes, they typically have their themes and yearly themes episodes with that at the verge of a year change, right? So that in a sense, I guess that is what you mean by they didn't come too far from yearly resolutions. Is that right? Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
I think that on occasion they use like seasonal themes and more short-lived themes. Maybe it's just the surface that we, the spectators, get to see are the yearly themes, and they are more flexible or agile with that internally. I don't know.
Well, hard to judge without talking to them, but still, we are really grateful for introducing this thing to us because it was quite useful for these years that I've been using it, and it's been especially useful this year when all conventional planning kind of was ruined, and I started thinking about some alternative approaches to do that. And in this case, yearly planning horizon was not enough. Like I thought, what would I like this year to be like? And like it's really hard to plan within a year. So I needed something more. And my previous practice was with 3 years. It was Triennial of Boldness. And It was quite a successful theme. It actually ends like today or a few days around today. It was quite bold, I would say. Not that I chose it, but it was the Triennial of Bravery.
Does the fact that you know precisely on which day it ends speak to how successful or maybe challenging it was with this theme?
Well, back in the day, I couldn't think of COVID and Ukrainian-Russian war to fill the context, but, well, it worked out eventually. And when I started reconsidering my planning, I thought that maybe 3 years is also too short, and I should go for 5. And there is this beautiful word quinquennial, which means 5 years. And when I thought of this 5-year theme, it seemed scary, because when you think of a year, you can probably somehow at least assume what you're going to be doing. When you choose a vector for 5 years, it's getting harder, and I thought, maybe I should still keep the yearly theme in the context of this 5-year theme. So what would be, if I have 5 years to scale some projects and businesses, what do I need now? And the first thought was to slow down. So welcome to the year of deceleration. Slowing down, like acceleration, deceleration. And then I thought, maybe a year of deceleration is also quite vague, and it's really hard to tackle, especially with all the unpredictability. So the next part was the fall of relief. I was quite stressed after summer and spring, and I needed to take a breath. And right now, the fall of relief is over, and we are moving to the winter of focus. Sometimes this winter of focus has to happen somehow. So my first week of the winter of focus was the week of calendars. Resetting the meetings, moving arrangements, and setting up something that could help me focus within a week, slow down within a year, and later scale up within 5 years. And sometimes within these weeks, I could think of daily things like a creative day, no meetings day, or any other sort of days you can think of. They can be regular, or they could be just occasional, like, I don't know, planning day. Let's say Wednesday will be my planning day today, or this week, or something along those lines. So it kind of scaled up, and I feel very comfortable with this Lego. I can move the blocks, I can rename them, I can reshape them the way I like. And it's easier to approach the bigger goal of scaling, even without a clear definition of what it is, by knowing that I'm in the prep stage right now. And later on, there would be something more actionable. So that's kind of the concept.
That's interesting. Ever since you told me that you have this almost a hierarchical structure of goals tied to different time periods, I was going to ask you about how does this work in practice, because with themes, for me, which the thing that I love about them is that having a single theme kind of helps with day-to-day decision making. So in a situation where you have a choice between doing A and doing B, you can apply this one criteria, one litmus test of your theme, and just, all right, yeah, A would bring me closer or would be in line with my theme, so this is what I'm going to do. But if you have like 5 things all active at the same time, it may be, at least I'm thinking for myself, it might be difficult to choose which one gets priority, and it would get a little bit away from this whole premise of themes. At least for me. How does it work in your case?
I think that for me, it's actually quite the opposite now, because if I just picked the year of deceleration in vacuum, it would sound a lot like the year of less. And why do I want to do less? Like, what's the idea behind it? If I lose this sense, I kind of don't have the motivation to change much. Let me give you an example. If we take a yearly theme of health, a year of health, and health is a vast thing. And for some people, it's okay to do something. Okay, I ate something healthy today. Ding. Like, I did 15-minute workout. Ding. And so on. But I think that for my kind of mindset, it works better if I could pick spring of diet or summer of activities and trying to implement or integrate something more focused within a different set of range. It's still part, or it kind of subordinates to the main theme. It's related. But I don't have to focus on the entire health spectrum, because then it's overwhelming. Like, it's really hard to seriously improve health when you try to do a lot of things at the same time. But when you keep your focus and you arrange your nutrition and food for 3 months, that's kind of the focus you need to get something done. And this was one of the issues with my previous thing. Then when I didn't have these more, let's say, deeper episodes or deeper time slots, I would refocus too often. And then I would say that, well, I did something, I tried this, I listened to those podcasts, I read those articles, but I don't feel that I have any sort of outcomes. And now I can't say that.
Interesting, because I think that makes sense, and probably you would see that I'm trying to apply a little bit of similar thinking to what I'm about to embark on for the next year, I guess.
But we kind of talked about my themes previously, and I haven't heard about your previous theme at all. Like, how did it end up?
Me neither. Because I think it would be of no use to talk about that, because when I think I might have had something in the beginning of the year. Probably if we listened at our previous episodes, we can figure out what that was. But then when the war broke out, I don't think I ever returned to that thinking or to that discussion, and I don't think I have had any particular theme that I've came up consciously and that I lived with. I was kind of trying to I'm not sure, like keep my sanity. Maybe that's too harsh of a word, but like keep myself in a functioning mode, more or less, and that was it. So unfortunately, that there is nothing to be talked about in terms of
there is
themes.
Something to be talked about. I think that if you don't have a verbalized theme, you still have a theme, and it could have transformed or changed.
Right. Well, I guess it was that the theme was maybe like keep going. That was probably what like the silver lining through the last nine or so months. Like keep going.
And how do you understand or feel that now you're kind of ready for the new one? When do you know that it's time to come back to themes?
I think when the themes themselves kind of help me understand that. We may talk about the theme journal and then that kind of stuff a bit later today, but I got this habit of doing at least weekly thinking, kind of review, reflection. We can call them sessions, but I call them like weekly reflections, where I put stuff in my theme journal of all things. Even though it kind of ceased to be a theme journal, it became just a journal. And I've noticed that in the recent times, similar things kept popping up on that. Like, given the particular structure of how I was doing the journaling, I was hitting the same things over and over, and I thought, like, hey, that thing really holds me back. I probably need to do something about that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how I thought, like, yeah, that could be a good theme to kind of live with for some time, or at least try to live with
what
for some time.
is your next year going to be like?
Well, I'm not sure about the year. That's why in notes it says year ? And that would be like a year of feeling good. I know, like, the way how I came to this was when I do the journaling, I have a section which is called, I think, something along the lines of things that induce misery, some like bad things that made me feel bad. And I noticed that there's no shortage of those things, and even when I became more conscious of that, I noticed that, like, even not only in those weekly reviews, I felt bad about, like, myself and certain things, but also in the moment, very often I would feel like not good, even though when you think about it, there was no particular reason for feeling not good or feeling bad. So, and that's how I came with this idea that, hey, I see that this me not feeling good in general, and me not feeling good, like, at least somewhat good about myself, kind of holds me back. I'm not doing things which I think would be beneficial for me and for people around me, just because I was not feeling like it, was not feeling good about myself to do that thing. I know that's a bit vague, and I'm still kind of forming more practical steps of how to practice this theme. And with that, I'm not sure if I'm going to go with it for the full year. I would maybe hope to get results for, like, feel improvement, or like form a positive trend line maybe in half a year, but then we'll see.
I think I've had a semi-year once.
But as you said, like, the yearliness or the time periodness of themes are relative, and probably they should be relative, right? It's something that comes from within, and when it came through, then okay, we can say that it feels like time to switch to something.
Plus, there's no correct or wrong way to do it, so
right.
Why not? And what would be the criteria of done? Like, how do you know that you arrived to this feeling good thing?
I think the trailing indicator of that for me would be that in those, let's say, weekly reviews, which I intend to continue doing, would be that looking back at the week, I would not see much of things that I did not do, or something like that did not, like, things that did not happen because I didn't feel good about that, if you know what I'm trying to say. So, like, when I have, like, now at times I may have an idea, like, which seems to be a good idea, but then I say, oh, maybe it's not worth it, or maybe, yeah, I'm not the best person to do that, or like this, that, or other thing, and this thing in the end gets not done. But then in the end of the week, when I look back, I see, well, that was a good idea. Why didn't I take any steps towards implementing this idea. I didn't feel that was because I didn't feel good in this broad sense, and I want to take that to a minimum.
Mm.
And that this is how I would know that there is a progress.
Let's say in about 6 months, when you come to this weekly planning, you will feel that you have... It's kind of related to your previous theme about being more out and active and doing things that the way you see them without too much hesitation and with still consideration, but doing. But at the same time with some backing, so you would feel more confident and okay with doing stuff.
Right. I think that both of those things, like the previous theme of going more out, would also kind of be a part of this, but also related to other things. Like, for example, I would be walking a dog, right? And I do that almost every day.
Yeah.
And like, I generally enjoyed this activity. This was like what helped me to get out a lot more, and I feel like I'm out in and about a lot more, and I'm happy. I'm quite happy with that. But sometimes when, like, with different circumstances, like the dog, we have a Shih Tzu, and Shih Tzus are known to be stubborn. So it sometimes it may be difficult when I try to get back by a certain time, like for example today, and she would not want to like, and I would feel bad about this whole walk experience just because of that. And when you think about it, well, at least when I think about this, like, well, was there a good reason to like really feel as bad about this whole thing as I did? And it's like, probably not. But why did I feel bad about that? Why did it taint the entire, well, at least the next half of day? Should this happen this way? Probably not. And this would be the thing I want to try to correct or improve or get away from.
You know, I have a concern when I look at your theme. And my concern is that sometimes such exaggerations like good and bad, they kind of take you away from really knowing what to tackle, because basically it's a simplification for a number of feelings that you could feel: frustrated, irritated, annoyed, disillusioned, disappointed. There is a set of feelings that we kind of label as I feel bad about something. There are many things that go under this I bet. And at the same time, feeling good means like enthusiastic, thrilled, focused, excited, blah, blah, blah. Like there is a number of activities. You know, I thought that I will stop touching the microphone if I put it upwards, but now still my gestures are going higher and higher. And it doesn't help. But my concern here is that maybe it's not really possible to achieve, because you will still have a set of emotions that are not as pleasant. Well, it's natural to feel something not pleasant. And in retrospect, if you look back at the week, there will always be something either frustrating or irritating or shameful or something. The balance of these emotions could change. But I think if you just keep these two blocks of good and bad, they will probably be somehow equal or even towards bad, just because the sheer amount of emotions that we label as bad is bigger.
I think that's fair. Although I think I can tackle this on two dimensions. One dimension would be, I definitely agree on the balance concept, right? I will not, it would not be possible for me to eradicate like feeling bad completely. Definitely there would be things that I will feel bad about, or like maybe situations where I will feel bad about myself in those situations. But I think I will not be able to get away from that. But what I'm thinking I can get away from that is having more of those bad feelings than necessary. I think it's like, in Apple, with Apple Watch and fitness exercise, there is heart rate recovery, something measurement or metric, like how quickly you get back to after you exercise and your heart rate went up, how quickly it gets back to the normal, more normal levels, and the rate with which the heart rate goes down is an indicator of health, kind of. So I'm thinking about this in those terms, like even when bad things happen, how quickly I would be able to recover from that, and if I would be able to recover from that faster and have less of lasting effect from that bad thing on what happens next, I would call it success, and I will feel that would be kind of in vein of feeling good or feeling better about stuff. So that's one thing. This is why.
So it's some kind of sub-theme of resilience, yeah?
Yeah, well, I see you wanted to put some structure about this, around this, but yes, but there is an overlap with resilience in this, but I think there's only an overlap. It's not entirely, it's not equivalent to resilience.
Yeah, just your example about the Apple Watch was a lot about resilience. And I'm just trying to get the better feeling of... because once again, when you were explaining the balance thing, that there is some sort of necessary level and some things that you feel unnecessarily bad, necessary is a very subjective category. Like
right.
For somebody, even a single unpleasant emotion per day could sound like something unnecessary. And how do we know? And moreover, we don't often choose our emotional reactions to something. When someone steps on your foot, like you have quite limited time to choose what sort of things you're going to feel about it. And there is not much mental room or mental space there. And what I'm trying to get is, how would you measure the feel good thing in comparison to feel bad things? Like, would it be the number of events, the overall condition, some sort of scaling, like, or just random feel good events that would happen more often? What would be this like stepping stones that would build up the year of feeling good?
And stepping stones is a great question here. This is where you would tie a little bit into your structuring of themes. And
I'm sorry about that.
No. That's fine. I think I'm trying to find a point where to start kind of unwrapping this whole charade. Like the first thing I would say that yes, you're right that this feeling good is subjective, and I kind of feel subjectively that I probably feel how I could measure it. I may have hard time expressing it or explaining it to someone else, but I feel like internally I have a grasp of what that means. Second thing is that it is indeed a vast thing. It's not just one single feeling on one single type of situation, and this is where I think I know several kind of emotions or states that I would qualify or put in the bucket of feeling not good, and they have different reasons and maybe different ways of avoiding them or preventing them. And this is where like my next kind of sub-theme, which I call season of structure, season of discipline, would come in. I would try to tackle those buckets of bad feelings, maybe not one by one, but at least try to, at any given moment, at any given period in time, focus on one of the buckets more and do more focused effort of changing something there. Like, for example, one of the things that kind of I would put in the feeling bad bucket would be like having ideas and not putting them forward, not bringing them to some sort of a resolution. Like maybe the resolution could be, all right, this was a good thing, but we are not going to do anything. It just keeps in this state like Schrodinger's cat. Like it can be a good idea, or it can be not. Like we don't know. And when I look back at those things, I don't feel good about those periods. So I would try it with the season of structure or discipline. I would try to build structure that would allow me to kind of minimize those things, like bring things to resolution, ideally faster, but if just bringing them to resolution at all would be possible, that would be already a step forward. So this is how I'm thinking about this now. So there's indeed a bucket of different things I tried, and this is where I think the benefit of a theme is, because if I were to set a resolution for this, I would not be able to, and if I did, I would likely fail. But with theme, I think it opens a room for reevaluating or adjusting along the way.
Yeah, I agree. And I really like the metaphor with buckets. I think that it will do the job, because
I hope so.
That's something simple enough that you can check quite often and regularly, and say like your weekly checkups that you were mentioning, you could just look at those two buckets and see how they're doing there.
And maybe it can be a little bit of a situation, like, you know, when you are about to start a new podcast, you have a couple of good ideas for first episodes, but then you enter the dry land after you picked all the initial ideas you had. It can be that I get into something like it, but I guess I'll report it as we go.
And if we think of some, I don't know, another example of these structured or disciplined activities that would reduce the number of feel bad things in the bucket, what other areas could it tackle potentially?
One
the discipline is a strict one, you know, like you speak about themes that bring you the freedom and flexibility, but the discipline and the structure, they kind of bring you the restrictions.
No, as you said, the feelings are subjective, right? And sometimes this subjectivity can play good thing for us, and it can play bad thing for us. And I think for me, it playing more of a bad thing, where I have a tendency to look at things or see things in a darker light than they actually are, if you think about that kind of logically and so on. So the structure that I'm going to put in place is going to, I think, at least on two dimensions. Like one would be help, like with this idea thing, and then some related aspects of what I'm doing help. I think it can help me with that, but also give me a more firmer frame of reference to evaluate things around me, to be able to see how bad they actually are. Because many times I've seen that, hey, when I felt bad about something, but then I thought twice about that or talked to other people, it turned out to be sometimes quite the opposite. It was like a good thing that happened. It's just I was too fixated on the negative aspects of that situation or the outcome, so that I completely missed the good things about what transpired. And should I have focused on those things, and should I have promoted that thing within myself and with people around me, it would be a lot better in the end.
And are we going to journal this theme?
That I don't know. And I wanted to ask for your advice, and maybe first ask you how you are going about your themes, and do you how do you go about them now from the technical point of view? What are the supporting mechanism or rituals or tools that you use for that, and what are you going to use forward? And then maybe I can describe my struggles with journaling and stuff.
Well, I stopped writing in February, and I haven't started yet. But the thing that kind of substituted journal for me is this little app. It's named Minimalist. And one of the things that I like is that they have the widget that goes on the front screen, like homepage or something. And whenever I unlock my phone, I can see top 3 notes. And in my case, it's my quinquennial year and season. And it's like a big reminder of these things. But for the retrospective, I use the whiteboard that is right behind me. So whenever I feel that I'm losing the focus or I'm not moving along the vector that I picked, I would think of new activities or change in course of action that I've picked. But the thing that I miss that we were doing previously a lot were the regular checkups with a person. And I think that that's something that I would really love to keep doing. And it helped me much more than journaling, like our regular things, like every 2 months or 3 months on how things are going, like an update on the winter focus and the spring of something that I'm not really sure what it's going to be like, were super helpful previously. And I would really love to get back to this habit.
I agree, though. Those conversations that we used to have around themes were immensely helpful. We definitely need to make them part of our regular programming on Biweeklycast.
Sure. And the way I understood, you stopped journaling themes as well, and you're not sure, whether you should come back.
Right. Well, I think this is where I'm conflicted about this. I think that journaling itself is helpful, and I remember those days when I was journaling every day for a theme. That was soon after we got those theme journals, and I think it went quite great for me. It was at the times when I was working on the year of out and related stuff, and I think it worked great that way. I find it very helpful, or like in general, the idea of day-to-day changes and influencing smaller day-to-day decisions very powerful. So I think like that is a cliche, but you've seen those memes where you have like 1.01 to the power of 365 equaling like bigger number than you would generally expect. I kind of feel like that kind of thing works for me, at least for my mindset. So I felt it was very helpful. But then after some time, I got out of that routine, and I didn't have enough discipline or structure to get it back, because when the time pressure increases, and I did that journaling in the evening, and when I had very low energy in some evenings, I skipped the journaling, and then I didn't get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking whether I should try to get back to that. An additional aspect of why I may want to do that is that I don't use like pen and paper too much in my work these days, and that would be a chance for me to do more of that, which I guess would be a welcome change. So I'm kind of conflicted. I'm using a different type of journal on the computer with an app called Logseq. Logseq. It's like log sequence, I think that is how the name came to be. I use it to keep track of like my work days. I found it very helpful. Maybe we can talk about this some time ago. And I do that daily, so I have entries in that software for every working day, and I find it helpful. And that this is another thing of why I'm thinking that maybe getting back to daily kind of journaling on the theme side can be helpful. But
Can I make a suggestion here?
still not sure. Sorry, say that again?
Yeah, I was asking whether I can make a suggestion.
Yes,
because
please.
The way I listen to you, I think the issue here is coming back to something that used to work instead of inventing something that works for you right now. Because, as you mentioned, journaling itself is like the representation of structure and discipline. So it's not really the question of whether you should or shouldn't journal, because journaling will be by itself moving towards the season of structure and discipline. But I think that comparing it to your previous experience and to the way it used to be and to the journal you used to use, that's kind of the issue. And if I were you, I would definitely do something different, like a different sort of journal, different sort of system, different sort of something that would be new and fresh, not something that can be compared to your previous experience, if it makes any sense.
I think that is a great idea. So when I was thinking how come now you're right that I'm returning back to this old idea that it used to work with journaling, and I'm having hard time seeing how it can work now. For like one thing that drastically changed from that previous experience of journaling would be that time we were during the COVID times and lockdown. I spent most of I was working from home. I didn't commute to the office, but these days I commute to the office quite often, and that kind of in and of itself eats into the time available to do stuff. Of course, I use this time most of the times to listen to audiobooks or podcasts, but still, this, as great as this may be, it still eats into the time, and carving like calm, focused time to the journaling might be difficult. And your suggestions of looking for something new is a very, very good one. I'll think about it.
So a few directions I would start looking into would be audio journaling. Like you could do the voice notes and then re-listen to them like shortly, let's say daily memos. Or my friend gave me a present, a Rocket Book. It's this paper-based notepad, but it goes with an app, and I can scan the thing and it sends it to Evernote or email or wherever I want it to send it. And you could basically have a page in the office, page at home, page in the car, page somewhere else. The only thing you need is a pen and an app on your phone to get it towards your like bigger journal to review it afterwards. Or anything else that is blank, free, and that would energize mostly.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I was thinking for some time, I was thinking of getting this, I'm not sure if you've heard of this, like the bullet journal, which is, I think it is designed to be like super flexible. It's a journal with a dot grid on the pages in it, which are arranged in a specific way that you can organize them in a billion different ways, so that you can cut them in halves, in thirds and fourths, and so on and so forth. I was thinking of getting this and maybe like experimenting with the structure that can be helpful for me, but I didn't pull the plug on it just yet. And I'm not sure if I will, but I will take your idea of like looking. The way I got your suggestion would be like, look at the problem at hand and think of what would be the best solution for this problem in current situation, rather than trying to tie it back. Oh, like 10 years ago, I did something similar and it seemed to work. Like reevaluate here and now what needs to be done. So I'll try to do that.
Cool. And I'm really curious on what you're going to think of, because basically any experiments would be part of your theme. And I think getting some things done, even if they don't work out, would be still part of moving in the year of feeling good.
Right, and that is also what I think should be part of that feeling good for me, that even if things do not work out, there is still something positive that we can extract, what I can extract from them, and I should not be focusing solely on, this was an experiment and it failed. No, the framing should be, this was an experiment and these are the things I've learned from it, and then things that I can take and go forward with them.
I think we could end up this conversation with a meme that was used in both our Aspen groups. It was about Immanuel Kant, and the meme was Immanuel Kant, but at least Immanuel tried.
Well, yes, that would be very, very applicable to this whole situation. But given that I think of this seasonal theme, and largely I got an inspiration for that from you, for this structure, right? For structure of getting a season of structure, like a smaller thing that contributes to the bigger thing, and tying it to a season kind of makes sense, even though I'm a bit late because we are already 1 month into the season. I feel like I can make it work it out. I definitely don't want it to be like a theme for Q1 because that's like, what? That's so businessy and rigid. But I'm curious about your winter of focus. What does it mean? Does it mean that you are doing less things or trying to do less things, or you are trying to do things that you're doing like deeper with more focus? How does that work for you?
There is a number of factors here. The first one would be, as you can say from the week of calendars, is resetting the meetings the way they are more organized, so I don't switch from topic to topic. Let's say Monday is the day of planning, so most of the sync ups and planning meetings should happen somewhere around Monday. Friday is the day of retro, so most of the retro meetings should happen around Friday or Thursday latest. Then there should be some dedicated days for thinking, dedicated days for something, because if there is no focus. Like the multitasking is probably the biggest enemy of focus in this case. And if I'm able to minimize that, and it works on multiple levels, like the first level was the meetings and calls. The next level is notifications, messengers, and stuff. Then just my personal ability of focusing. I've realized that it kind of drained and I'm not able to focus for longer periods of times, and I have to switch the activities too often now. And I would like to work on that by just kind of forcefully pushing myself into the state of boredom and staying in something for a longer period of time. Even after I feel that I don't want to be here anymore, I would still stay and think or keep doing something else, but in this topic or in this theme. And I think that overall, the result of the winter focus would give me more control. Like I would be able to know what happens, when it happens, and why it happens. And I would be able to concentrate on a specific area for a few days if I'd like to. Let's say I have an issue and I will not be resolving this issue like I'm resolving it right now in the breaks between some regular calls or activities that happen just because they are regular, not because they're meaningful. And maybe this issue that I'm trying to solve is much more important than any of these like daily, weekly, whatever number of sync ups or calls or events that happen.
Yep, that's very interesting. I'm also thinking about something like this when I'm having like two year break at work because I accumulated so much of unused vacation days this year, so I had to take like a longer stretch of time off, and I'm also trying to use this time to kind of regroup and reorganize my schedule so that I can have more time to do stuff, because I think that would be a way to do stuff rather than following the schedule that someone else forced on me with regular stuff and activities.
And maybe this someone is actually past you, Dima, a few years ago, thought it would be nice to have some regular events or activities, and now you're kind of trapped with this idea.
Right. It can be. And also I wanted, like, for one of our future episodes, I wanted to not entirely knowing that this is like very specifically your themes and things that you are working on. I wanted to try to talk about the like planning on a more tactical level, like for days and weeks, and kind of dive deeper into that topic. So maybe that would be something that we can do a bit later. Would be very curious to know about your experiences and learn from you and get more ideas for how to do that stuff.
Well, let's give it a try and see what happens, yeah? Otherwise, how do you get more sense of feeling good?
I know, I feel like I'm supposed to say something, but I don't know what to say.
There's nothing to say, just wish good weeks to the listeners and let's move forward.
It's just, I missed the beginning of your phrase.
No, I'm sorry about that, but my Wi-Fi dropped off. And
no worries about that. It's just a bit funny. Right.
That would be actually quite interesting, because when you put together our audio lanes, you will finally get what I was saying. And that's really...
That's right.
If I knew that, I would answer something like that. I think that your idea about tactical planning is really neat, and I would love to talk about that. And it's really exciting because I think there was one of these popular quotes about that if you spend 10% of your time planning, it will increase your productivity X times more. But if you don't, then things will just keep happening, rolling, and at a certain point you stop having any sort of control on the situation.
Right. On the contrary, there can be situations where you spend like 90% or 80% of time planning, which is also not entirely healthy, but that's not our
That depends
case.
on your position. If you are actually responsible for planning for multiple projects and teams, then maybe spending 90% of your time planning could be healthy.
Yes. What I meant more of a like single like project situation, like the time allocated for a project, you spend 80% trying to come up with the perfect plan. Maybe not the best of ideas.
Let's say, in the spirit of this season of structure and discipline, there should be room for planning, there should be room for doing, there should be room for retro, and they should all be somehow balanced.
Right. Yep. And there should be room for resting, recharging, and feeling good, I guess. I hope.
Which is hopefully going to happen sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Well, thank you for sharing about your themes. I'm really excited to see what your season of structure and your feeling good is going to land on.
Yep, me too. And thanks for sharing about your themes. And as we discussed, it would be great to continue supporting each other throughout those themes, and those themes episodes, I'm sure, will be returning to our regular programming.
So I guess I'll talk to you about the themes sometime early spring or late winter, whenever the season and winter of focus, the season of structure and winter focus. And good weeks.
Good weeks, good seasons.